Hello, this is Jay Larson with the Idaho Technology Council. Thank you for joining us for our weekly podcast, Innovation Matters. Today's October 22nd, 2020. A lot of twos in there. And we are so happy to have you with us today. On October 27th, next week at 5:30 from 7 p.m. to 11, 5:30 to 7 p.m., we are having our 11th annual Idaho Technology Council Hall of Fame, which will be taking place virtually. The theme of this year's Hall of Fame is Unstoppable. And as I think about Unstoppable, I remember growing up, I was always watching these Bruce Lee movies. For some reason, they were some of the best movies. I couldn't get enough of them, and you could never, they were hard to get to. It wasn't like today where you could go find them all over the place. So I was watching one, and one of the quotes that Bruce Lee had, it says, "Do not pray for an easy life, pray for the strength to endure a difficult one." And I thought that was always a good one because some of the thoughts in life is your excellence is seldom easy. And so you have to do it like Bruce Lee said, you have to endure a lot of obstacles to be able to get to your destination. So just think about that one and we're going to talk a little bit later about Unstoppable and the Idaho Technology Council Hall of Fame. But today we're being joined by the folks from Garrigan Lyman Group, Tim Garrigan, who's the principal of GLG, and Kalie, Kimball, Malone, the executive creative director, will be with us as well. Amy Howard, director of media, will join us, and we're just so honored to be able to have them with us. Thank you very much, Tim, Kalie, and Amy, for joining us today.
Great to be here.
Thanks, Jay.
Yeah. This is always great. And just I want to let everybody know, this is kind of a selfish thing for us because Tim is our executive advisor to help brand strategy for Idaho Technology Council. So Tim has done amazing things for the ITC. So thanks, first of all, for doing all the things you do for us, Tim. But let me ask you a question. Tim, tell us about what Garrigan Lyman does.
Well, thanks, Jay. You and I have been working together now for just coming on, this is our 5th or 6th year. And it's just been such a pleasure. And you've done such a great job with ITC. You ask what GLG does. We make clients gobs of money. That's what we do. And we do it through marketing. And, marketing connects people. And these days, things have shifted so much because of COVID. Behaviors have changed, people's tastes have changed. Routines are different, remote learning, you name it. And we find ourselves in this wonderful position of being able to help clients understand where they can find the audiences they want. And we do that through a number of means, a number of services. Digital advertising for sure, brand strategy. We create world-class digital experiences. A new capability, which is virtual events, which we'll talk about in a little bit. We have media planning. We have super amazing creative folks that cover everything from any kind of media at all. We have SEO and a great SEM practice. We have analytics. And really what we love to do is collaborate with clients and work on ideas, because ideas are seeds. And when we collaborate with their teams and our teams, we watch these ideas grow into some really remarkable things. And one of the things we're going to get into today is a little bit about what we're seeing in trends in the fall, and what it means to all your viewers and listeners and how they can put it to work for them.
It's interesting because I think that, again, I'm going to use a bit of a sports one. I know that there was a person that popped on the scene in the 80s. His name was Michael Jordan. And Nike had found a way to be able to get, and these endorsements for shoe endorsements are big for these athletes, right? But you sit there and you watch what this brand has done and what it means. I mean, it's a totally different concept as you go, what took place with them in 80 and where it is today. But the sojourn that took place for that brand and what it's meant for Nike and so forth, How important? I mean, some of the things you just talked about, Tim. How important is brand management for a company?
I'm going to throw that to Kalie because she is so involved in brand and brand strategy. Kalie?
Thanks, Tim. Brand and brand management is crucial. Nike has spent so much time paying attention to their brand, growing it and nurturing it. And it's important for brands like Nike or small B2B businesses because the brand is more than just your logo or your advertising or your products. It's the promise that you have between your organization and your customers, and that doesn't happen um, organically. It needs to be nurtured and grown. And I think Nike has understood what their promise is, which is enabling athletes around the world, no matter what that is. They make brand decisions that are all about fulfilling that brand promise, whether it is a shoe sponsorship with amazing athletes that really take that brand to the final kind of culmination of these exceptional athletes, or it's creating product for athletes that are everyday athletes, whether it is, focusing on special stores focused on lifestyle for women, which is something that they've been doing in Southern California to support kind of surf and skate and yoga for women, even through to developing hijab running for women around the world to be able to participate in cultures that may not allow some of the skin suits. So they've really been committed to that promise. And I think one of the things about brand management is you need to understand what that promise is, and then how that is fulfilled in every single touch point with your organization, how your customer service is, how your sales process is, how do you treat your employees. So it's something that we're always kind of counseling and consulting with our clients on how they can commit to that promise.
And I like that, Kaylee, because what it does is that promise and that thread has to run through everything you do with your organization. How it touches your customer, that promise has got to be prevalent everywhere, right? If there's a breakdown, then all of a sudden, I don't want to use the word hypocrisy, but consumers can see it.
Absolutely. Consumers are increasingly more intelligent about brand. It used to be it was logo or advertising, and now it's how do you treat your employees? What's your supply chain like? What's your environmental impact? What's the packaging? What's my experience when I call your customer service or call center, or how employees are treated? And it gets elevated up in social media, and we know that millennial and younger generations are really values driven consumers. They want to choose brands and companies that support their personal point of view, and so they can find it.
Kaylee, who do you think does some of the best brand management on the planet?
Nike, which we know. I think Apple is known for creating really fantastic brand touch points, all the way through from customer service and how you can just get help immediately. I just ordered a new phone and I did it on my iPhone, and it is now telling me on my watch that it's ordered. So there's these really little touch points from how I know my order shipped to the product unboxing to creativity. One of the brands that we always look at that we think is really fantastic at brand management is Method. If you're familiar with it, you probably have one of their soaps or cleaning detergents in the house. Their tagline is People Against Dirty. And they brought design and brand and beautiful packaging together to get clean products into the home and live it every way from how their own packaging is. And if you ever read the copy on the back of their products, it's not instructional copy. It's written in a tone of voice that is consistent all the way through. I could go on and on, but those are just a few of the ones that
I like it.
fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. And maybe what we can bring is Amy Howard, have you come into this discussion right now. And I know that both, Tim, this has been great with Amy and Kalie, is the idea that you have this whole consumer brand behavior report that you just released for fall of 2020. And I was looking at this, and it's really fun because it talks about all of these changes that have taken place as a result of COVID-19, like working from home, virtual schooling, the virtual holidays that's going to take place for November, December, when people aren't going to travel so much. And I'd imagine we're going to see even some e-commerce that's going to just explode out of this, because people will not go into stores as much as they even had in the past, and even have more online purchasing. And then in the meantime, we've got a U.S. presidential election. We've got continual social justice protests and reform, and major fires and other weather events that have been taking place. So tell us about this consumer brand behavior report.
I just say that, thanks, Jay. We do this maybe quarterly now, and we do it for our clients. We also make it available to folks, anybody online. If they go to glg.com, go to the blog, and you'll find it under Consumer and Brand Behavior Report for 2020. And we've looked about 5 things. And I think the big headline for this one, Amy, is virtual, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's been really important for us to kind of make sense of 2020 and see what consumer behaviors are taking place. There's been some industries that have some really unexpected impacts. As we all know, it's been an unusual time, and there's been unusual behaviors. So we've been trying to make sense of all of this and really track those trends. And one thing that we have seen is the significant impact of virtual learning, or just virtual work in general. There's a significant amount of students who are doing online school during this time. And we all know that each year school supply spending is a huge purchase for parents around the US. But this year in particular, we're seeing some unique behaviors. It was anticipated that this year that Americans would spend about $30 billion on school supplies, but that spending has shifted towards items like headphones and laptops and electronic accessories to really help kids have the most successful school career during this year. And that has also translated into individuals' work environments. So as we all join this call working from home, we found the last 4 months we needed to create some more permanent environment. So that means investing in your space, making yourself comfortable. We've seen that impact brands like Wayfair, where they've seen an increase of 37% in desks and furniture. That's impacted delivery times. So it's just kind of a rolling effect. We see just this impacting everyone in terms of shortage of items. So it's fascinating to monitor these behaviors and really see how working from home and working from school is reflected in these behaviors. In terms of the fashion world, we're seeing that brands are taking this work from home to consideration. So there's lines of fashion that are coming out with something that is both comfortable and professional. So something that can be worn at your at-home office that feels comfortable and nice to the touch, but videos well. So these considerations weren't something that were, thought of before.
Videos well. I like
that.
That's great. So this whole thing, and this virtual part for us working at home. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I think I've had so many. Every day you probably have 5 or 6 or 7 Zoom calls or whatever platform you're using. So how's this really working right now? Or what do you see the balance between all of the things that are taking place with respect to this virtual world we've now moved into, and a lot of the things that are happening with around us from a socioeconomic basis, because I think this kind of comes into Kalie has talked about this whole ability to meet your customers' demands. but you have to know what the environment is. So talk a little bit about this environment we're in now.
I think it's really, I mean, the books and papers that are written about 2020 in the next, 5 to 10 years are going to be very interesting in how they document shifts in society, shifts in culture, and shifts in commerce. We had been seeing that there was a growing trend of e-commerce for grocery shopping, and this has just elevated it by 90% and forced organizations to go online faster than they have. I think that we are seeing people thinking about their neighbors and their community a little bit more as we are seeing ourselves really interconnected, and the personal choices that we make can affect our community, whether it's from a health or how our neighborhood stores and our local stores are involved. We see a lot of communities getting together to support their small businesses or find ways to keep restaurants open, which I think is a really interesting societal change. I think the big chains and national chains have been doing a great job, but we have seen that there's been a shift in a focus to small business and local business. Whether it's bookstores, there's been not just grocery store, but independent bookstores have all gathered together to really focus on an e-commerce platform that you can buy from your independent bookseller, but it behaves a little bit more like Amazon, which I think is a very interesting shift. And then, we've had more time to pay attention to what's happening out in the world. We're not kind of running kids around to after school practice or events, or we're not commuting. So I think when the kind of social justice movement started, we all were paying a lot more attention than we were. And I think we'll see, ramifications in culture and society from this social justice movement that is overlapping with politics and the election. And we're seeing companies respond to it, both in making statements and then making changes as well in how they address their customers.
Jay, I was going to say, Jay, Amy and I had a really interesting conversation yesterday with one of our national food clients. And so many folks are doing curbside pickup now, online ordering and delivery. Lots of folks are not going into stores any longer. And so how do brands get noticed? How do new brands come into a market? In the past, they would buy end caps. They would buy they would do sampling. There's no sampling going on now. And the question is, how do we tell the target audience about our brand in a way that can be measured, that can still get the store the revenue they want, and the brand the awareness and the revenue they need? So that's a whole new shift just in the last few months.
Yeah, that's going to be, it's because I was just thinking about this. My wife wanted to get some new comforters, right? And so she went in and she found them, and she went on Macy's.com. And then she said, well, maybe I'll go look at this in the store here and see if they have it. Well, the selection on Macy's.com was much more robust. And they also drove her to Macy's.com because she was able to get a 25% off online purchase. So I think you're seeing all these things are taking place even more where online shopping is going to be even more. But you know what I was thinking about this when I read the report, one thing that caught my eye was it said that how all these things will impact and have the effect on consumer mindsets and priorities. So, it seems like that's what you're really after, right? You're trying to say, okay, what does this all mean? But really, how does it ultimately end up affecting the consumers that we're trying to reach or we're trying to gain? So, that's kind of interesting that I think you've been talking all about this. So, any other thoughts from the report that you'd find fascinating?
Holiday season's going to be drastically different.
holiday normally starts with Black Friday, where everyone lines up early to get into a store to get these doorbuster discounts. Downtown, shopping centers or malls create events or kind of fun activities to draw customers in and keep them in store. We're not doing any of that this year. So how do we as brands, as organizations, engage our customers in a way that's just not, I'm going to go online, I'm going to click, and it's going to show up at my house? How do we create kind of these connections around that kind of warmth and family and connection that we get when there's a caroler in the store, or it's the kind of nutcracker happening within the mall? So I think we have to, as brands, think about how we can create virtual events or engagements within the kind of customer journey to connect them, whether it's offering special packaging for gifts, or let's say you're ordering something from a kitchen store. How can you add a virtual experience in with that? Cooking classes or a cook along or a class that creates a deeper engagement beyond opening that box, or gifting.
Wow. This is going to be one, and those who figure it out are going to be the ones who grow. Those who don't are going to be the ones that. And if you've seen it, I mean, it seems it's crazy, but every time you see Amazon trucks all over the place now, right? Mm-hmm. I would imagine COVID. I mean, Amazon was doing fantastic before, but this all played into Amazon's distribution model, didn't it?
They were there to capitalize on it, and yes. The amount of boxes that we now have coming to our house, because we live in a rural area, so we don't have access to big box stores. And they were shut. So, stuff is just arriving every day. They had everything ready to go. I know they're building more distribution centers. They're building more capacity within their delivery network. So they're not suffering from this. But I don't think we have those brand experiences. And I think one of the shifts is people also want to be conscious consumers. You mentioned this before on kind of the mindset on being a consumer shifting. So if I can get a book or a cookware from somewhere that I know I'm like supporting a business or a human being that I know about, I'm going to get a bit more connection. Or if I can get an experience besides the Amazon box, if I get additionally like cooking classes or an unboxing experience, or access to people to ask questions around in a fun way on how I can better incorporate this product or service or technology into my life. I think that's where it's going to build brand equity and kind of long-term love for that company.
Nice.
Yeah,
I like that.
Jay, another big thing that's happening right now is around the election. And what Amy Howard's seeing is how much money is pouring in to social for the big campaigns. Amy, you want to just talk about what that's doing to brands and everybody else?
We typically see an unusual year when it's an election year, so we kind of pace ourselves and think about the repercussions of political advertising in a media sense. But what we're seeing this year, and just with the environment that we've talked about, for example, on Facebook alone, we're seeing that each of the presidential candidates are spending about $5 million a week on Facebook advertising. And for other brands, that is meaning that we're seeing just a shortage of inventory for them to get any other messages out there. We know that Americans are very involved with this election and are trying to participate in a personal way, but there's also been opportunities where channels have allowed them to opt out of advertising, political advertising. So what we're seeing is the impact of how those political ads just in sheer volume have taken over the conversation, how that has directed specific behaviors, and we're monitoring that closely. We're seeing if those behaviors change come early November, but it's been a record year in terms of political advertising and the impact that those ads have had on different channels and environments, and just the
Amy, does it make it so that it's just it crowds people out because they can't get the messaging because there's no inventory?
Yeah, it definitely increases the cost of that inventory across the board. So we'll see increases in TV pricing, on Facebook. If you think about each candidate spending $5 million a week, that means that with the 221 million Americans on Facebook, each one of those individuals is seeing about 5 political ads a week. And that doesn't seem like a lot, but that didn't exist a couple months ago. So, and spending continues to increase. Former Vice President Biden has, increased his spending week over week. So they're really trying to get their message out there and increase awareness about their initiatives. And it's definitely caused a shortage of inventory and an increase in cost.
Yeah. So this is good. One area that we can ask is this area of you brought it up, Amy. This was about education and virtual nature of education and virtual nature of the workplace. So let's. I've had some high school students doing work with, and every one of them, 6 of them I was talking to about, and I kind of did ask them all a question. How's virtual school been for them? And they look at me and they go, everyone said my grades been impacted. And I said, well, why? It seems like you could do anything. He goes, well, the fact is that it's much harder for us to not be distracted while we're doing our work, because I could sit there and my phone would go off and say, I'm going to go do that, and actually doing it, so I get distracted a lot. And it's not easy to be able to focus on it. I think at the same time, you take a look at school, and then you take a look here. One of the big things that happens a lot of times, the day goes on, I roll in here from and it seems like I don't leave till 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I would normally go out, go in my car, go to lunch with somebody, do something, and I don't do that as much. And so all of a sudden, I find myself not being distracted by my stuff. What do you guys think about this? What's this whole distraction and things are going to be the new norm for us from education and from virtual work?
Yeah, our worlds have definitely become a lot smaller in the last few months, in terms of how far we're driving, where we're going. So, and I feel that pain point of virtual school because it's a completely different experience. And I think if we look into the future and see how far this will continue, it will set a new norm for education and what that learning program looks like and how to keep individuals' attention. There's been a lot of new norms. My 5-year-old nephew who wears a mask everywhere, and he just decides that in the future he's going to continue, because then he doesn't have to, he can smile at people or not smile at people, or, it's new norm. So
it's great if you have braces.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You only have to do half your makeup. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Kalie, do you have any other thoughts on this?
I have to say I'm more focused. And like you, I will not take those breaks or have those kind of little conversations in next to the coffee pot with my coworkers. So I miss that, but I'm very focused. I am not getting kind of randomized as much as I did. I think with kids, we have to find a way to bring some of that community back for them, because I think it's so important for kids and their learning experience. And I think the studies are showing that the younger the child, the more important the in-school environment is. So I think, while older kids are kind of more able to focus or manage their own time, I think we need to find a way to get our kids back into that school environment in a safe way. And I think with work, we're going to see hybrid changes for a very long time.
Yeah, this will be a discussion much further into this in the next 12 months or so, depending upon when we get the vaccine and what's going to happen with it, right? So,
Yeah.
hey Tim, we need to talk about the Hall of Fame, the Idaho Technology Council Hall of Fame.
I think
Garrigan Lyman's been a major force on this, as you guys have helped us position this. And this year, the promise is the theme is unstoppable. Can you talk a little about this?
Yeah, I think the Hall of Fame event is the best event in Boise, if not Idaho, every year. And we've seen it grow year over year in terms of attendance, in terms of who's participating. And so, what you've done, Jay, is you've done a great job of, really acknowledging the great leaders in Idaho who have done tremendous things to build the economy and the community here. You've also done a really good job of identifying new companies that are on the way up, and you highlight companies every year who we ought to keep our eye out on. And it's so fun to look back now on those companies from 4 years ago. You go, who is Love Every, right? Who's 50 Flowers? Who is Jewel Case? And now these are some of the rock stars in the state. So you've done a really good job of making people aware of that. And then on top of that, you made it statewide. So you've divided the state up into 6 regions, and you look at what's going on economically in each of the regions and what folks are doing. So you put all that together. And this year, it's called Unstoppable, where we have all those elements I just talked about, 2 Hall of Fame attendees, 12 companies that have been resilient and done great things during COVID. They figured out new ways to do things. We call that they MacGyvered something, right? What did they MacGyver? How'd they do it? And then we're also going live to each of the regions and talking to folks. We're doing that from a virtual studio, and I have to say that's the newest capability of GLG. Is we have GLG virtual events, and in just the last 7 business days, we've done a game show for one of our clients who got done with an event, and we turned it into like, I don't know, Price is Right or something like that. And everybody zooms in and we're able to have a contest. It was fabulous. This week, we've just finished a 3-day global sales event for an automotive AI client. We had folks in from Germany and China and wherever. It's amazing what happens, and they've been hugely successful. So now, all that I just talked about and all the elements of the Hall of Fame event are going to be happening Tuesday night from 5:30 to 7.
And this is great because the virtual nature what you're talking about, Tim, is taking place because we even talked about, generally we have this down at the Boise Center in the biggest ballroom that we have because we pack it, in there. And then we even talked about having it in what is now the Idaho Central Arena downtown. That was going to be in all the suites and we're going to do all this stuff, but then it keeps social distancing, but it just wasn't going to be able to work because of the social distancing impacts. But this one's going to be fantastic because we're going to induct Scott Moskrip. Scott Moskrip is the founder of truckstop.com, which is one of the biggest success stories in Idaho. We also are going to have Melaleuca and Frank Vandersloot, who's going to be coming in and talking about these unstoppable characteristics. These two formed as a group companies in smaller parts of Idaho. And then our keynote is going to be Jim Donald, who's formerly the CEO of Starbucks and is co-chair of Albertsons companies. And he's going to be talking a lot about determination, grit, and the unstoppable characteristics here. So, and the Idaho trivia is going to be fun, right? Because we're going to have Idaho trivia and people are going to win these prizes.
We've got some great prizes. So that's all live. It's good or bad. It's going to be live. I think it's going to have a lot of energy to it. It's going to move really quickly.
Yes, I think that would be good. So, did you hear that? That
I did. She didn't get that one.
She didn't get that.
She's going to have to listen to the replay.
Siri.
Yeah, sorry, Siri. We'll get that another time. Well, anyway, this has been great. Tim, Kalie, and Amy, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for all the work that you do to help your customers understand more about the brand experience and the brand promise. So we really do appreciate that. And I have my last quote. This is from um, Ayn Rand, and she was a Russian American writer and a philosopher who moved from Russia. I think he was born in 1905 in Russia and moved to the United States in 1926. And she said something that was rather compelling. She said, "The question isn't who is going to let me, it's going to stop me." I'll say that one more time just so I make sure. The question isn't who is going to let me, it's who is going to stop me
Very good.
from being successful. And I believe that is one of the biggest things we have to do in our lives. We have to figure out that a lot of times when we look in the mirror, it's our ability to figure out how we're going to help ourselves be successful and help others around us be successful. So
Jay,
thank you all for.
You're right. I think what's great about Tuesday night, and by the way, you should tell everybody how they can see the event. But I think what's great, people are going to hear how all these leaders come up against things that should be stoppable, and they've broken through and just persevered and made it happen.
That's exactly right. And people can, it's going to be a virtual event, a Zoom event, so they can go ahead and go to idahotechcouncil.org, and you'll see the events section, and you'll be able to register for the event there. And it doesn't cost anybody any money to participate. It's all a free event. So we're just looking forward to having you and everybody join us at the Idaho Technology Council Hall of Fame. So, well, thanks you all, and we'll let everybody go. We're looking forward to next Tuesday at 5:30. Join us with the Idaho Technology Council Hall of Fame. And again, this is Jay Larson, keeping you connected with industry and government, because in Idaho, innovation matters. Thanks, and have a great day. As we adapt to changing times where organizations and government agencies are working remotely, it is increasingly important for us to stay connected with local tech companies like Cradlepoint, Truckstop.com, Experis, FlexTrax, Idaho Central Credit Union, as well as Mayor Debbie Kling and Mayor Rebecca Cashmer. Isn't there a direct correlation usually with the goods transported across the country and the health of the economy and possibly going into a recession or something like that? Is there a direct correlation there?
What's cool on the technology side, people are having to, like the webinar usage, you talk about the bandwidth that just skyrocketed.
Discuss what Idaho's economy and government leaders are doing to ensure Idaho's economy weathers the storm.
Idahoans also have a culture of taking care of each other. We have a culture that includes doing things intelligently and the right way. And I think that's part of what's going to see us through.
So I should not just limit it to the United States, to the world. That is fantastic.
Yeah, I don't want you to sell us short, Jay. Come on.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks. This is Jay Larson with the Idaho Technology Council, keeping you connected with industry and government, because in Idaho, innovation matters. Innovation matters. Innovation matters. Thank you all, and be safe out there.